Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Clarence Robinson. I am currently a junior here at Troy University. Once again, we're coming back to you with briefing number 3. Today's briefing will be on the topic of the importance of effective communication and its effects on leadership. My main points are as follows. Why leaders must communicate effectively and clearly during briefings or speeches. Leaders should study and learn the material before attempting to teach or lecture the material. Leaders should effectively communicate their desired outcome and the effects of clear communication. Now, before we get started, I want to give you the definition of communication through Webster's Dictionary. And it is, the communication is a process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbols, signs, or behavior. Also, I want to give you the leadership definition once more because I think it is apropos to this moment. The leadership is defined as an action of leading a group of people or an organization. A simple definition is that leadership is the art of motivating a group of people to act towards achieving a common goal. Now, I don't want to do too much reading for paper, but I do have it just for my notes, just for a nice flow for us, okay? So today I want to show you the effects of communication through a series of videos that I watched and lectures. The first one being a lecture done by Dr. Klein. And in this lecture, Dr. John Klein, in the lecture, Dr. Klein was talking about how him and his wife were supposed to just meet at the mall to get together and just, I don't know, have a cup of coffee, anything like that. How many times we want to meet someone and we just have poor communication? Well, he was saying that there were 2 malls in Montgomery, Alabama, and he told his wife to meet him at a certain time at this mall, but his wife ended up going to Eastdale Mall, and they missed each other. So Dr. Klein pretty much said in a scenario that him and his wife laughed about it, but they swore that, they promised each other that it wouldn't happen again. And he gave that example, and when he went to Wetumpka to talk about the promote something he was doing, talk about it, he was telling it to the people in Wetumpka, and he went to the Montgomery, I think Eastdale Mall. And while he was at Eastdale Mall, a student who heard him speaking at Wetumpka told him, Dr. Klein, I bet you're waiting on your wife, because he heard the story that Dr. Klein was talking about. So Dr. Klein said, I sure am waiting on my wife. He said, but this time I told her to meet me at the bottom of the escalator at the mall at a certain time. And the student laughed at Dr. Klein. He said, you know what, Dr. Klein? I just seen your wife at the bottom of the escalator going up, and you're at the bottom of the escalator going down. A simple communication problem. But, in life, we can have breakdowns in communication, but Dr. Klein was able to say that if you do have breakdown in communication, let it just be something small like that. I want to give you a faint example of a communication issue with my son. Christopher, come on up, son. How you doing?
Good.
This is a small example of what Dr. Klein was saying. All right, Christopher, how was your day today, son?
Oh, Dad, I gotta go. I got basketball
practice at the
gym. The bus is outside, not that.
What time you practice? Where are you going? Small sample. Come on up, son. Now, that's a small example of bad communication, but that happens all the time in communication. You just get 2 signals crossed up. Now, let's give you an example of good communication. How's it going, son?
It's going good. I have basketball practice at the school today.
Yeah.
At the old high school, the gym that we used to practice in, they're waxing the floors and fixing the rims. And my practice starts at 4:30 and like around 6:30.
Yeah.
So could you pick me up around 6:20, 6:25?
That's actually really good because I get off at 4, but sometimes it may be a little late just because we're having issues. But that'll give me time to get there. Probably around about 5:30 because I know that's when y'all really start playing the games one-on-one with each other. And you told me you dunked on old boy last week, so I really want to see that. You ain't do nothing. But I'll be there by 5:30, man, to watch you, okay? Then we go and get something to eat afterwards, okay?
Yes, sir.
Ladies, son, have a good day, man. Appreciate it. That's just a small example of good communication. In the first one, we had bad communication, but in the second one, our communication was right on point. Now, in the second video, Dr. Klein talked about communication as well. And I think I got the title a little mixed up, but you get the gist of it. And it says, if you can't communicate, you shouldn't try to lead. Dr. Klein spoke in the video saying that good communication and good leaders speak effectively, They express ideas orally. They are good writers. Because he said good writers are also good thinkers. But overall, listening is a skill that many people negate. And when he said listening is a skill that many people negate, that fell into my category. When we first came into the class, I believe we were asking this class or my other class if, well, something you want to get out of class. And the biggest thing was I wanted to learn how to listen better. Because when people are telling me something, the first thing I want to do is give them my information, give them the answer to their problems. But I haven't really listened to their problem. How can you answer a problem for someone when you haven't clearly understood what they're talking about? So you must listen to what the person you're talking to is saying. And it also reminded me of some things that we talked about in this week's teaching. And it's listen actively. Be comfortable with silence. And lastly, forget about yourself. When you listen actively, you're giving your full attention to that person that you're talking to. You shouldn't get distracted by anything that's going on around you. You should be focused so you can get exactly what they're saying. When you're talking about being comfortable with silence, if you're comfortable with silence, the book was explaining, not really the book, but the teaching was telling us, use that time to consider what that person is saying and think before you speak. And that's all it is, just think before you speak. A lot of times, and I'm guilty of it too, a lot of times when you get uncomfortable with being silent, the first thing a person wants to do is say something crazy, out of the ordinary. But don't do that. Just take your time and listen, and then have a one-on-one conversation, a true conversation with the person. And lastly, forget about yourself. And that is just all, again, giving good conversation to the person that you're talking to. Now, I want to talk to you briefly about communication between, I believe it's Marcus Aurelius and Maximus in the movie Gladiator. As a leader, when you're going into a briefing, you got a perspective on what you want, and the people you're talking to got a perspective on what they want. Your job is to convey the perspective you're talking about to your team so you can delegate it out to the people afterwards, the mission. So in this story, Marcus had a perspective he wanted, our agenda, and so did the other leader. There were two leaders. One leader saw the entire picture. He saw the picture of Rome. He seen that he was going to leave off the scene one day. But his general didn't see it that way. And he was trying to convey to the general that I'm going to leave one day. What legacy I'm going to leave behind? What's next for me? Who's going to leave Rome next? But the general he didn't really get it at first until the leader really broke it down to him. And the leader really told him that he understood what he was saying. And so when the general finally got it, what the leader was saying, the leader also told him to think about it. To think about what he was saying. To think about taking over Rome. And it also brings me to the point. It also brings me to the point of the movie Braveheart. In the movie Braveheart, William Wallace was a leader. He was portrayed as this great man. But yet, as this great man, and the people needed to believe in him. The people looked at William Wallace as a person who was unbelievable. William Wallace wanted them to understand that he was just a normal person. And so the people didn't believe they could beat the Scotlands or the Englishmen. But William Wallace was able to convey to them that I'm a normal guy. And if you keep this same perspective of you can't win, then you're not going to win. And so he was able to convey to them that they're winners. And they went out and won the war. Many times in life, when you're conveying messages, people just get the signals mixed up. But if you take the time to communicate effectively with the people you're talking to, then you and them get a great point out of it. So we talked about the goodness of communicating, the badness of communicating. The thing I want to leave you with is, when you're communicating with someone, make it a one-on-one time with them. Encourage each other, learn from each other, and watch each other grow. Thank you, and have a great day.